Good Monday, makers. Hope everybody had a great weekend and is ready to check out some builds with me. It's Monday, so we're doing another community build roundup. It's also Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody. It's nice and rainy down here in South Carolina, but hopefully everybody else has clear skies for Halloween. And that also brings up what the heck is on my shirt. I wanted to dress up a little bit, and you guys know I like dad jokes, so I dressed up as. See if you can figure out what it is before I tell you. This is the road. These are the stripes in the road. And then this is a fork. So this is a fork in the road. Really bad joke. But anyway, like I said, it's Halloween. So I hope everybody has a happy and safe Halloween. And we'll get it started by checking out some builds. First up is a build, and this was shared by Danny. This is actually a mini model of a disc golf cart. We've had a lot of disc golf carts in the community. It's always a cool one to see for people that are disc golfing and they don't want to, lug around the disc golf bag and everything like that. So they build a cart, has a built-in seat and all kinds of stuff. And Danny is doing the same thing, but he wanted to work through the design, so he shared it in the community, which is always great to see. And here we can see the mini model. We can see it's kind of modeled similar to some of the other ones we've seen in the past, except this one has. It looks like it has 3 shelves. So there's 90-degree connectors at the bottom to make a rectangle, in the middle, and at the very top. And then there's some 180s sprinkled in there, basically just to add that pipe in the back that goes all the way up to the top. And that's what the kind of grab handle will be attached to. And what's really cool about this one, we've seen people, I was talking about being able to haul your disc bag with you. And most of the time people put it on the shelf, maybe here in the middle. And then above that, they want to be able to swing open a lid to be able to access that bag and then swing it back down in order to have somewhere to sit while they're out on the disc golf course. His hinge is actually with the adjustable angle connector. And I thought this was really interesting because he wanted to basically maintain some extra strength by utilizing the pipes underneath of the lid. So whenever the lid is down and he sits on it, the whole cart will be supporting it instead of, just the inside part here, where the wood or the plastic, whatever the lid's made out of. With that just sitting there, wouldn't really be providing as much support as you could be, because these pipes going all the way around would be a good kind of underneath support. And the way he's utilizing that is he's got the vertical pipe that runs from the bottom to the very top on the sides, and then he's got the adjustable angle connectors flipped over and attached to that vertical pipe, and then it hinges up and down, as you can see here. So that allows him to open and close the lid, which is really cool, really clever, and I think that'll work great. And he was asking for advice, and I think that's a really good option for having a support underneath the seat. So really great job, Danny, with the model, and we'd love to see it once you get it finished. I think it's going to be cool. Always great to see a disc golf cart, so really awesome. Thanks for sharing. Next up is a project, and this is a YouTube video from Spot the Van on YouTube, and this has actually been a few years since they posted this, but I just found it recently and thought it was really cool and wanted to share it for people out there that want to do a van ladder. So they've got a Sprinter van. If you've looked into these, or if you have a Sprinter van or any kind of van really that you want to convert to a camper, or just an adventure van or whatever it may be, you can get racks for these and ladders, but they're really expensive. And if you do it yourself, you have to weld it oftentimes. So coming up with a DIY solution is great. And this one is done with conduit, which is always cool to see. And it's a really long video, but it's great because they break down the whole thing. So if you want to, follow along and build a ladder just like theirs, so definitely check out the video. But we'll kind of skip through the highlights here, and we can see here they have it laid on the ground, and they kind of go over the material. So it's 3/4 inch EMT conduit, eyeballing some spray paint up there, and then they've got T connectors, which is really great for a ladder build because you just need to connect the steps to the vertical pipes, and the T's work really well for that. Really simple. So you can see they've got their conduit already laid out. They've got the steps pre-cut and laid out there. Then they've got the T connectors that are going to attach each of the steps. And then what's really cool is how they attach it to the van, which we'll take a look at here in a second. But it's apparently a company called Aluminess, I think, Aluminess. And they make racks and ladders and camper, tent racks for trucks and things like that, all kinds of cool stuff. And apparently they have a hardware kit for ladders, and that's what they use to attach it. So let's see if we can skip through here and kind of see that. So here it is. That's the bracket they include in their kit. And basically, it's made to just kind of conform to the curve of the bottom of the van. And then there's 3 pre-drilled holes that kind of sit against the pinch weld in the bottom of the van. And basically, you can just drill through that pinch weld and add the bolts through it. And that's what they did here, just to secure that bracket to the bottom of the van. And then from there, they bent their conduit and attached it. And I believe they used threaded pipe inserts in the end of the bent conduit, and then that threads onto the bottom of the bracket here at the very bottom. I think we can see this might be actually be the top of it. Yeah, I think this is the top of it. It looks like they did do some welding. So I think this bracket here at the very top, they welded a plate to it, and that is what attached it at the very top. Or maybe that is the bottom. Let's see if we can see here. Looks like I like the way they we've seen people do the ladders do it this way. I like the curved edge at the very bottom, just so you don't have a bunch of rectangles or a sharp edge. Just kind of bend this corner here. Looks great. But I think this welded bracket is what attaches it to, and there's the maker pipe and the T connectors. Looks like they're adding some silicone there as well. Oh yeah, I think I remember seeing that in the video. They added some silicone to keep to try to seal it to keep water from getting inside the pipes and trapped in there. But now we can see here it is coming together. This is the very top being bent. So I guess that is the bottom, and that bracket will kind of mate with the other one and then bolt together, which is a good way to do that. And of course, with something like this, going down the road, you want to be extremely careful and make sure you build it to be safe. And anything moving down the road, you want to be careful and do your due diligence to make sure that it's safe and going to stay put. It looks like they're doing that in several different ways, and looks great. And then here we can kind of see the finished product all put together. And I don't remember exactly how they attached it to the top, but looks great on the side of the van. And then here we get a demo of it, I believe. You can kind of see them climbing up. Oh, let's see here. There they're talking about the silicone they've used in there to kind of seal it off from water getting in the cracks there between the T's. Um, let's see here. But yeah, there it is on the side of the van. It looks awesome. I like those little bay windows as well. That's nice. A lot of those vans have set um, windows, like those glasses you can't really pop out or anything. So adding those is really nice on the camper vans. But here it is. I think it's the maiden voyage climb. Oh yeah, it looks great. Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Looks great. Looks like a great solution and is working out awesome. So that's really cool. Doing a little dance when you finish a build, you got to do a little dance. Nice. Definitely check out that video if you want to follow in their footsteps. Oh, that's follow in their footsteps. It's a ladder. Get it? Okay. Anyway, if you want to recreate the same thing, check out their video and you can see exactly how they did it. And they also have other van content on their channel as well. So if you're into that, definitely check out their channel. But we appreciate the shout out, and it was really cool to see a project from them. So really cool. All right, next up is a hack from Dwayne. And this is really cool because I've seen these pipe clamps in the past, but I've never thought about using them in this way. And honestly, I should do more research on these clamps because I've seen these in the past, and I think they're made for I think like galvanized or plumbing pipe, and they basically clamp on top of the pipe and turn the black iron or galvanized pipe into a clamp pretty much. But it looks like here what Dwayne has done is he's attached it to conduit, and what that's allowed him to do is basically have this clamp at the very top, like you would use it normally with the galvanized pipe, except he's using it to put the inserts into the pipe. And that's really smart, really clever, and a great use of the clamp because we've showed a tool on the channel before. It's made for bikes, and basically it's just like a little insert that goes over top of it, and it's a sleeve. We have a video on the channel, like I said, but basically you hammer this pin on the top, and that really works well to insert the threaded pipe insert. But then if you have a short enough stub, you can use a vise. But this is awesome because you can use it for a longer span of conduit. You can see here, I mean, that looks like a couple of feet, 3 or 4 feet, maybe not that tall, but 2 or 3 feet. And he's got the threaded pipe insert in there, and it's working great. And it's really smooth. Instead of hammering it, if you've ever tried to install those, sometimes when you hammer it, they can kind of go every which way just because those spring-loaded fins that go and kind of expand on the inside of the pipe kind of fight you a little bit when you're hammering them in. But this is a great solution to get them in a lot smoother and a lot easier. So that's really cool. Dwayne, really great hack. Thanks so much for posting that. Really awesome to see. Next up is a shelving unit, and this was shared by Mark. He said he and his son built the shelf unit for his room. It's 6 by 6, and he said it was too big to move around the house. So they wanted to split it vertically, and which is a great way to do that. because if you want to be able to move it around and things, trying to lug this whole giant shelf around could be a pain, especially if you got to move it upstairs or between rooms and things like that. So what they did was they basically built it where you can see here there's some couplings, off the shelf couplings in between the two halves, and that's how they separated the two halves for easy mobility of the shelf, which is really smart and a great way to do it. Other than that, let's see. We'll talk more about that in a second. But as far as just the main construction, it looks like a really simple construction all the way around. There's 90-degree connectors in the corners, and then it looks like four-way connectors in the middle. It looks like the same going all the way down. And they basically just added the connectors wherever they needed to. And you can see that they're kind of spaced out differently for different things, which is smart. There's books down here. I like the architecture. That's either the Lego architecture set or just a model of building. But I like that model there. But you can see the shelves are different heights based on what's on the shelf. And you got a really tall one here to make room for the giraffe. And but they did the same construction all the way around with the 90s on the sides and the corners, and then the four ways in the middle, which basically break up this long span, add a vertical, and then add the front to back pipe as well to support each of the shelves. And then it looks like they've got some wood. I think they said they got it at Lowe's, and they even had Lowe's cut it for them, which is a great hack if you don't know. Lowe's or Home Depot, they'll cut wood for you. So if you go in there and buy pretty much anything, I've bought some of those like the small project boards. I've had them cut those. Whether big plywood sheets, they'll cut pretty much anything for you. They have that big saw in the back. So if you didn't know that, that's a good thing to keep in mind. If you're building shelf or desk or anything that involves wood, they'll cut it for you, which is always great. But they even routed the edges, and it looks really nice. And then here we can see more about the hack of where it's split in half. So they basically sleeved 1/2-inch EMT inside of 3/4-inch conduit and created a bit of a sleeve that the top half could slide over. So we're not really relying on these couplings here to kind of support the weight of the top half, which is smart. I mean, those are made for electrical work, so they're not as strong for stuff like this. And they work great in a scenario like this where you need that set screw, but having this vertical added sleeved pipe really helps strengthen that kind of middle connection, because as you can see, it's about halfway up, and it's a pretty large amount of stuff on the second half at the very top. So that's a really great hack for doing kind of a secure sleeved kind of joint between two halves. So the 1/2-inch conduit just rests inside of the verticals here, and all the verticals, I think, and then goes through the coupling and then up into the second half, and the top half sleeves over top of it as well. So really smart way to add some strength to a unique scenario like this, where you need to be able to split it in half, but you still need it to be strong at the same time. I think this is a good solution for that. So really cool, Mark. Thanks so much for posting this in the community. Really great to see. Next up is another van ladder from Jono. And this one's really cool because it doubles as a surfboard rack. So you can see here the ladder attaches to the van. It looks like it goes up to, I, I think that that's maybe Unistrut or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but that's a pretty common material for van roof racks. And I think this is sleeved onto the channel there. And then just like the other van rack or the van ladder we saw, it's bent and then it goes down, and it's attached to the bottom of the van, just kind of bent around the edges in the same way. And at the top and bottom, they use T connectors to add the steps. There's 4 total, it looks like, and a really simple ladder. Looks great. And then they basically mirrored that same design in the back here, the same kind of bent pipe that starts at the top, goes all the way to the bottom, and is bent and attached to the bottom. Of course, there's no steps on it. It's just that bent pipe. But then it looks like there's a 45-degree connector that branches off of the pipe, and that is what the surfboard is kind of resting on. And then they ratchet strap it down to the van, and just a super clever solution to be able to, still utilize your roof rack at the very top. You don't want to have the surfboard take up all of your room for gear, or even on the inside. You could put the surfboard inside the van, but again, that takes up a bunch of space. But here, having it attached to the side of the van on the ladder not only saves space, but also makes it easily accessible too. You just have to undo those straps, and then you can take the surfboard off and have easy access to it. So really clever, Jono. Thanks so much for sharing that. Really awesome ladder, and just a cool build overall. So really, really cool to see. Thanks for posting it. Next up, Norman sent this in through email, and this is an enclosure roof, and it's really cool. We've seen something similar to this in the past. With a wooden enclosure, you can see there's a bunch of like pillars basically throughout they have a ton of raised garden beds, must be doing a lot of gardening, and they've got these, wooden beams or pillars kind of throughout, and then they've got cattle panels around the outside. You can see the outside of the, attached to the wooden frame to basically make the enclosure. We've seen people do that in the past. It's a great solution for the enclosure, but to do the roof, it looks like Norman used conduit and maker pipe, which is really cool to see and very similar to that other one we saw. And it looks like there's just basically a roof structure. There's long horizontals, probably connected together with maybe 180s there, or maybe T connectors, but it's over 10 foot, so it'd have to be multiple pieces of conduit. I would imagine it's either connected with couplings or 180s. Not quite sure, but regardless, there's pipes. The horizontal pipes are connected to these pillars in the middle, and I'm not quite sure how they're attached. Maybe two-hole straps would probably work well for that. Really simple way to attach it, and basically, it's attached to those pillars throughout. And then I think those are T connectors that grab onto the top pipe and then angle down, and there's pipes along this kind of edge of the roof as well. And so the pipe goes down. I think it attaches to another piece of conduit there. Kind of hard to tell from the far away view. Maybe it's just attached to the wood there. But same idea. So it creates a peaked roof, and then they've got some chicken wire on top, and just all in all makes a really good enclosure roof and a really good combination of materials. Lumber for the main frame, and then a roof with conduit keeps it lightweight, and just a really great enclosure. So really awesome, Norman. Thanks so much for sending those photos over. Really awesome to see. Next up is a build from Steven. This was also sent in through email. And this is really cool because let's see what he said here. It looks my propane tank sometimes vents in the hot Texas summer. And I just learned about that recently. So I guess with propane, if it gets to a certain temperature, it has to vent some of the propane out, which isn't the best because it not only wastes money, but he also says it's not the best for the environment as well. And he said he can't bury it because it sits on solid rock, so you got to figure out some other solution. So what Steven came up with is a basically roof and sunshade for the propane tank. And that's a really great idea, great solution to kind of prevent the venting of the propane. And it looks great. We can see here, it looks like there are basically pipes on the edges that run parallel with each other. Here's one on this side on the wall here, one on this side, and then it's got 3 verticals that go up, and there's 45-degree connectors for bracing. Same thing on this side. And what's really cool about this is obviously they're building on uneven ground, but since they're working with pipe, they can customize the dimensions however they want. And so that this side is shorter, obviously, because of this rock retaining wall, and works out just fine. You just have to cut the verticals, shorter than the other side. But even this side is like kind of on a hill, so being able to customize the length is kind of crucial here. And so the vertical pipes go up, and then we can't really see the roof structure, but I would imagine there's probably 90-degree connectors or T connectors creating a square or rectangle shape on top, and then that's what allowed the metal panels. I guess it probably looks like maybe even vinyl siding or some sort of aluminum roof panels or something maybe secured there. But we can see some bolt heads sticking out. So probably I would imagine a really good way to secure materials like this to a conduit frame is to just simply drill a self-tapping screw through the metal material or plastic and into the conduit frame. And I would imagine that's what they did here as well. So really great solution and a great idea, Stephen. And hopefully that cuts down on some of the propane expenses. And thanks so much for sharing. Really awesome build, and we appreciate seeing it. Last but not least, we've got another build sent in through email, and this is by Wendy, and this is an arbor for roses and clematis. Never heard of that before, but it's a really great build and a great arbor, and they use cedar fence planks for the side panels for added shade and privacy. So really cool. We can see here they've got the seating area or the sitting area. Looks like a really nice place to hang out. And this is the structure they built with maker pipe and conduit. So it looks like 4 verticals. Actually, maybe even more than that. Yeah, it looks like maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 verticals. And looks like they got 90-degree connectors in the corners. Oh, I realize now it goes actually keeps on going. You can see here there's some pipes, I think. Yeah, pipes attached and going off into the side here. We don't really get a view of where it goes or what else it does. But this is we see this side here. Maybe it's mirrored on the other side. Can't really tell, but They got the 5 verticals, like I said, 90-degree connectors usually used in the corners. They've even got one flipped over in the middle there, kind of oriented kind of vertically. So the pipe goes into it and then out the front. And then the continuous pipe goes through the connector, which is a good way to use a 90. And then we've got T connectors going side to side, similar to what we saw on the van ladders. It looks like the whole thing is coated in black. It looks like spray paint. They even spray painted the 2-hole straps, which looks good. And then, of course, they said they used the cedar planks attached to the frame. And it looks really awesome. And I like the way the cedar planks look and the way they use those because you can see that there's conduit running from the vertical front to back. And if they had some other material here that was just one continuous piece, like one tall piece of wood or a tarp or something, they'd have to figure out how to go through that material. But here, since they've just created, the cedar planks that are spaced out apart, they've got room to run the pipes from the verticals to the back, and they've got those connected with T connectors, and just looks awesome. And I think they shared how they leveled it on the ground. So they said, after fully constructing the 2 lengths, I enlisted helpers to get it upright and threaded over 1/4-inch rebar post. Okay, so that's something we've talked about a lot on the channel. You can get some rebar or some metal stakes from Lowe's and Home Depot. They hammer into the ground. They work really great as an anchor for outdoor builds. And then the leveling it was a whole new challenge since the ground is uneven. So what they did was attach 1/4-inch steel hose clamps to 3 of the rebar posts to raise any of the sides that needed adjustment. So far, that seems to hold the pipe legs level. We'll see how that goes when the vines add weight to the structure. Okay, so I think I understand. So I think what they did, you can see how unlevel the ground is here. So I think they have the rebar in the ground and the pipes over top of it. And then I think they're using hose clamps kind of up a little bit, like up a couple inches on this rebar to allow the pipe to rest sooner rather than keep on going down all the way to the ground. And I think that's what they mean and how they leveled it, which is a clever solution. And they said it's working out great so far. And then I think last but not least, they added 8-foot cedar fence boards to the short side for additional shade and privacy. May add mesh or wire to the tops or sides for added support for the climbers next spring before the vines take off. I love how it turned out. Well, that's great. Thanks so much, Wendy, for sending in those photos. Glad that you love it. I think it looks great and a really awesome build and all kinds of cool things incorporated into it, which is always great to see. That's all the builds I have for you guys this week. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me. Hope you guys have a happy and safe Halloween, and we'll see you next week. Thanks everybody. Take care.